Federal Drive is presented by GEHA, Government Employees Health Association, proudly providing health and dental benefits to federal employees and their families. Visit GEHA.com.
As the summer wildfire season gets underway, federal wildland firefighters are facing an increasingly difficult situation on the job. 3 out of 4 respondents to a recent survey say they have considered quitting within the past 12 months. That comes as frontline workers face increasing burnout and low morale. Here with more is Federal News Network's Drew Friedman. Drew, thanks for joining me today.
Nice to be with you, Terry.
Who conducted this survey and what were some of the big headlines?
This survey comes from an organization called Grassroots Wildland Firefighters, and they developed the survey in partnership with the National Federation of Federal Employees, which is one of the big unions that represents federal wildland firefighters. Some of the findings from this survey, which had about 800 responses, show that work-life balance, burnout, and low pay are common concerns among a lot of wildland firefighters and driving some to, as you mentioned, consider quitting their jobs. About 11% of survey respondents said they would recommend a career as a wildland firefighter, and just about 22% said that they would not recommend the job at all. So these survey results show a workforce that is struggling to some extent. And of course, this comes as we're seeing wildfire season get underway and intensify in the coming months. I spoke recently with Reva Duncan, who is president of Grassroots Wildland Firefighters and a retired firefighter herself. She gave her reaction to some of the responses here.
We were really surprised at how many people responded to the survey. We did not expect that number of people to respond to the survey. People want to be heard. They want their voices to be heard. They want to speak up. They want to talk about the issues they're facing. I think that's indicative of a workforce that is struggling.
Drew, these issues have been going on for a while, if anybody's been following the issue of wildland firefighters. Kind of what has been the trend here?
These issues, it's true, have been concerns for wildland firefighters for a long time. Concerns like excessive overtime hours, understaffing, inadequate pay and benefits, and that often leads to stress, burnout, difficulties with recruitment and retention, and just generally low workforce morale. If you look back to a 2022 report from the Government Accountability Office, they talked about a lot of consistent barriers to recruitment and retention. Some of those things that I just mentioned, like poor work-life balance, issues with mental health, limited opportunities to advance in a career for wildland firefighting. But Grassroots Wildland Firefighters and as well as the federal union here are saying that uncertainty from recent workforce reductions and also agency reorganization efforts are making those long-time challenges much more heightened and much more difficult for firefighters. So even though the 2025 workforce reductions didn't directly impact federal wildland firefighters, Reva Duncan from the organization pointed out that separations in support roles for those agencies are still affecting the frontline workforce.
It still is a massive machine working behind the scenes that a lot of the public doesn't see. The logistics support, the mapping, the financial tracking, all of those things that support the wildland firefighters doing the tough and hazardous job. Of course, they're impacted by the losses of the workforce and the other positions.
And a lot of the firefighters are themselves seasonal workers, so they are hired on a recurring basis. What's the current staffing status there?
Well, I heard from the Department of Agriculture that they have 11,550 above that number seasonal staff members who have been hired and who are ready to deploy for the 2026 fire season. They say that that is surpassing the agency's staffing target earlier in the time frame than any past year since 2022. So they are staffing up in preparation for what's going to be an intense wildfire season this summer. But at the same time, many survey respondents are still reporting workforce shortages within their units. Survey results show that about 2/3 say that their units are operating below full strength staffing levels. Many discussed that there was inadequate staffing in certain fire activities, such as prescribed burns, which are done to prevent wildfires from being as intense during the summer season. So I think that there are ongoing difficulties with staffing levels, despite it being so staffed up and really ahead of schedule at this point in time.
The survey was done by an organization outside government. Have USDA or Interior said anything about the findings?
We did hear back from both agencies, and they both said that they do not comment on external surveys that are conducted of their workforce, but they generally said that they are committed to supporting the workforce. They're, working to offer increased pay and compensation and benefits to the firefighters, mental health services for those who might need them, and then also pointing out that the staffing levels that they're trying to achieve here would allow for requested time off to be granted to firefighters as they need it. So they were really emphasizing here that they are providing the resources, leadership, and support that the firefighters are going to need as fire season really gets underway.
Well, then it sounds like they're acknowledging that regardless of who conducted the survey, there are some real problems in managing this workforce. How are they addressing it in the longer term, and what might still be ahead?
Well, one thing that is important to point out here is there are some reorganization efforts going on both for the Interior Department and for the Forest Service, which between the two of them are the top federal government employers of wildland firefighters. So at the Forest Service, there are some reorganizations and relocations going on of mostly DC located staff, kind of those back office functions who are going to be relocated. And although that's not directly impacting the wildland firefighters, it's this idea, again, that there are concerns of that having indirect impacts on firefighters. And then at the same time, within the Interior Department, they are looking to consolidate all of their wildland firefighting programs into one organization. And that's causing some concerns from outside organizations. But at the same time, the agency says that that's meant to streamline and, make more efficient the wildfire response from the agency. But ultimately, especially looking at the Forest Service relocations, Reva Duncan, when I spoke with her, talked about concerns that those reorganization efforts are going to cause further exodus of at least some agency staff.
Now, I know they've said they're not going to get rid of positions, but they're going to relocate people. But a lot of those people aren't going to be able to relocate. We saw that with the last Trump administration when they moved the BLM headquarters to Colorado. People just can't always pick up and move. Their spouses have careers, their children are in school. So I think we're going to see a further reduction in the support personnel that support folks on the ground.
It sounds like the theory will actually be tested when fire season really gets underway.
Absolutely. There's a lot to come, and very soon here, too.
That's Federal News Network's Drew Friedman. Drew, thanks for joining me.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You can find her story at federalnewsnetwork.com.